Hi everyone, I'm Jackie and I'm here to help you pass your US Naturalization interview. If you're waiting for your naturalization interview, you don't want to miss this video. Today, I'm going to go over 10 common myths that I've seen about the naturalization interview, and I'm going to set the record straight. Let's do it. I only need to bring what's listed on the interview notice. The interview notice is a generic notice. It's the same for everyone. Those are just the basic documents that you have to bring. However, every case is unique, and I always recommend applicants to bring more than they ask for. I've seen many interviews not get approved on the spot just because the applicant didn't bring a document that the officer asked for. The officer will then send you an N14 request for evidence form if they want additional documents that you didn't have during the interview. Of course, this just adds more time for you to get approved, and I'm sure you don't want that. If you're not sure what other documents you need to bring, check out this video I made. USCIS will take away my green card or passport during the interview. No, USCIS does not take away your green card during the interview. However, you need to bring your green card with you to the interview. And they don't take away your passport at the interview or at the oath ceremony. If you lost your green card before the interview, make sure to file a police report and bring that with you. USCIS will take away your green card during the oath ceremony and give you the certificate of naturalization in return. You can then use the certificate to apply for a US passport if you want to travel. I only need to be married up until the interview for the 3-year eligibility. In order to be eligible for the 3-year marriage-based naturalization, you must be married to your US citizen spouse and live with your spouse during the entire naturalization process, which means until the oath ceremony. If at any point before the oath ceremony you get divorced or separated, you will no longer be eligible under the 3-year marriage-based route, and you must withdraw your application. Luckily, you can reapply when you meet the 5-year eligibility. I don't need to mention my traffic tickets during the interview. The N400 application does not specifically ask about traffic tickets. However, question 23 asks, have you ever been arrested, cited, or detained by any law enforcement officer for any reason? A traffic ticket is a citation, and therefore, if you've had a traffic ticket, you've been cited, so you should answer yes. Most traffic tickets will not affect your eligibility for citizenship, and there's no reason to hide that information. However, your application can be denied if you lie on the form, so don't do it. Some of you may have heard that if your traffic ticket is less than $500, you don't have to mention it. That's actually not true. The instructions state that you don't need to submit documentation if it's less than $500. But you still need to report it. So if you have a traffic ticket, regardless of how much it is, you should answer yes to question 23. Some of you might have answered this question incorrectly when filling out the application. There's no need to freak out. Here's what you need to do. Contact your local DMV for a copy of the traffic ticket and check your bank account statement or credit card statement for proof that you paid it. Make sure to resolve all traffic tickets and bring all supporting documents to the interview. And I suggest you to bring all supporting documents with you, even if your tickets are less than $500. I can use an interpreter because I don't speak English very well. Having the ability to speak and understand English is one of the requirements to pass the US naturalization interview. You don't have to be perfect in English, but you have to be able to understand what the officer asks and carry on a basic conversation. You can have an interpreter only if you meet the English exemption requirements, which require you to be older than a certain age and be a green card holder for a certain amount of time. You can check out more information about the exemption using this link, and I'll also add it in the video description. There are 2 civics test versions, and I can choose which version to study. As of now, everyone has to take the 2008 version of the civics test. There was a 2020 version for a brief time. However, USCIS phased it out in April 2020. I'll add the link to the official USCIS announcement in the description. The civics test is multiple choice. There are a lot of apps out there helping applicants to study the civics test. However, a lot of them are multiple choice. This is not the format during the interview. During the naturalization interview, the officer will ask you the question orally, and you have to respond with the correct answer. It is not multiple choice. And if you need help studying with the civics test, check out this video where I organize the questions by group. It's very helpful. I cannot travel abroad after submitting my application. The short answer is you can travel abroad. Just make sure to keep track of the dates and update the officer during the interview. Any trip over 24 hours overseas has to be reported. Remember though, you still need to meet the continuous residence and physical presence requirements. If your upcoming travel plans will put you over the requirement, then I suggest you to delay that trip until after your interview. And don't forget that your green card has to be valid or you may have issues returning to the US. You don't want that. If each international trip was less than 6 months, my application will not be denied. Remember, there are 2 requirements you need to meet: physical presence and continuous residence in order to apply for the N400. Physical presence requires an applicant to have been physically present in the United States for at least half the time for which his or her continuous residence is required. So, if you're applying under the 5-year, you need to be here in the US for at least 30 months. And if you're applying under the 3-year, you need to be in the US for at least 18 months. This means if all of your trips were less than 6 months per trip, but you were outside of the US for more than half the time, your application could be denied. And you have to meet both requirements throughout the application process until the oath ceremony. If you're still confused about the requirements, make sure to check out this USCIS link. A decision cannot be made means there are issues with my application. At the end of your naturalization interview, the officer will give you the N652 Naturalization Interview Result Paper. In the middle of the form, there are 2 options. First, congratulations! Your application has been recommended for approval. That's the option that all of you hope for at the interview. However, some of you might get the second option, which is a decision cannot be made. If you get that, does it mean that your application has issues? Well, it depends. If the officer requests certain documents during the interview and you don't have them, like your tax transcripts, then the officer will send you a request for evidence and ask you to send in additional supporting documents. As I mentioned in the beginning of the video, you can avoid this delay by bringing all of your documents with you to the interview. In most cases, a decision cannot be made just means that the officer needs a supervisor to do a final quality check to make sure everything is correct before the final approval. This is a common practice, and most likely you will receive your oath ceremony notice within a week or 2. All right, I hope this video helps you. Do you have any questions about the naturalization interview? Leave me a comment and I will see you next time. Take care. Bye.